name is Andrew Butler, and this is my presentation for civil engineering. This happens to be the profession I'm looking to seek as a member of the Texas A&M Engineering Academy, and this presentation will go into what civil engineering is, what all entails within it, as well as why I chose it specifically. So, if you're wondering what civil engineering is, it is the profession that involves designing, constructing, and maintaining public infrastructure. So this discipline kind of mixes technical design, project management, and on-site operations to ensure that all their projects are created efficiently and safely for all those who are going to be using them. So civil engineering happens to be a profession that is highly imperative for the entirety of humanity. Quite literally, the foundations that we're currently standing on were crafted and planned by civil engineers. Civil engineers are in charge of public transport, bridges, highways, facilities, utilities, anything of the sort. And along with that, civil engineers also are important in integrating renewable energy systems, ensuring that all the utilities we use are clean, and protecting local environments and habitats. So, civil engineers have a lot of roles that they have to fulfill on a day to day basis. So they're often tasked with liaising with contractors, consultants, and architects about whatever project they happen to be working on. They're tasked with maintaining transportation systems and water based utilities. So, transportation systems, if you don't know, can refer to public transportation as well as roads and highways as well. And they're also tasked with ensuring that safety regulations and codes are upheld for whatever structures they're using. Now, this one in particular is highly imperative because we as engineers are tasked with upholding certain standards to ensure that all those who are going to be using our facilities are safe. So there are a lot of notable civil engineering companies within the United States, and I have six of them listed here. So we have ACOM, ACR Inc., McCormick Taylor Inc., Flinco Construction, Bauman Consulting, and Bechtel. Like I mentioned, these are all highly important and well-known companies within the United States that are rooted specifically in civil engineering. So civil engineers are tasked with housing a very, very specific skill set that helps them within their day-to-day life as a civil engineer. So, of course, they have to house a lot of traits, but I have at least three categories of them here just to give you an idea. So, firstly, they have to have technical traits. So, this includes knowledge in structural systems and statics. And if you don't know, structural systems just happens to do with how systems work, how structures work, and just generally how they're applied within the field of construction. And statics is a field of physics that has to do with the strain and stress on certain structures, as well as how certain materials deal with certain pressures and outside elements. They also must understand how AutoCAD and other programs work. So, modeling softwares are programs that are going to be utilized to build out and plan and kind of construct digitally how a build should work. And they also must have a grasp, civil engineers, of how to actually apply the construction materials that they're going to be using. So, this can include concrete, steel, wood, whatever they happen to be using on site. So, civil engineers, and this is applicable also to anybody that happens to be within a profession that just has to deal with business, they also have to have great soft skills. So this includes clear and effective communication, great collaboration and teamwork, leadership and initiative, as well as great time management and ethical judgment, which is very important personally for all engineers. They also must have some form of field and construction skills. They must house, of course, project management skills and regulation, which of course has to do with budgeting, scheduling, operations, things of that sort. They also must have an understanding of what construction methods to apply while building whatever structure. And they also must be coordinated with the contractors, architects, inspectors, and any other facilitators that happen to be on field that are going to be collaborating with them. Along with that, civil engineers must also have strong safety awareness to ensure that they, along with anybody else involved, is safe. So, civil engineers happen to utilize various forms of machinery. So, this can include excavators, which are used to dig foundations and demolish, bulldozers, which are used to push soil and clear areas. You have cranes, which are utilized to lift materials to whatever elevation is necessary. You have graders, which are used to level surfaces. You have things such as compacts and rollers, which are used to levee surfaces and lay down asphalt. You have concrete mixers and dumps, which of course large machines which are utilized to mix and place concrete. You have dump trucks, which are used to remove debris from sites, and you have backhoes, which are utilized to move materials across the site. So there, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of programs that civil engineers use. You have AutoCAD, Revit, and Navisworks. So these three programs specifically are the most commonly used within civil engineering. And with them, they have to be applied in order to actually plan sites and operations, render whatever form of infrastructure they need, and also just be able to calculate any potential errors, collisions, clashes, or anything that could create conflict when building the structure. So the image you're seeing above here is actually an image of AutoCAD with the Autodesk Corporation. And so what you're kind of seeing is how roughly AutoCAD looks and how civil engineers can kind of apply it to plan things out. So, civil engineers are required to uphold certain regulations and safety standards to ensure that they, along with the people that are using the structures, are safe. So, of course, there are a lot of regulations that we have to follow, but I have six that I can go through with you right now. So, the International Building Code mandates that all buildings and structures abide by safe fire safety, they're accessible, and they use materials that are going to be safe for public use. You also have the ASC, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers, which tells civil engineers that whenever they're creating a road or bridge, they have to be able to support a certain strength or load in order for it to be safe for public use. Along with that, they also must be able to sustain any environmental influences such as wind or rain. So the American Concrete Institute has codes which ensure that concrete structures are structurally sound, have rebar support, which is a strong type of metal that's utilized within concrete, and are just generally enforced to prevent any kind of cracking or collapsing. So the American Association of State Highway and Transportation, that's a really long name, also talk to civil engineers and ensure that whatever roads they utilize commonly and whatever highways they're building are going to be safe for public use and are going to not have any issues pertaining to collapsing, things falling out of sorts, any potential issues that come up, they want that to happen whatsoever. So OSHA is somebody you're probably familiar with. So OSHA obviously mandates that civil engineers must abide by safe and ethical practices while they're working with on-site operations. And we have the environmental regulations, which is relegated by the EPA, so the Environmental Protection Agency, and they work with civil engineers to ensure that environmental areas, habitats, or wildlife aren't harmed while they're performing operations. And along with that, they also try to make sure that there are no air or water pollution while performing operations. So, civil engineering within the job market is very healthy and it's in demand across the US. So, as of right now, we're seeing a high demand for public infrastructure, maintenance, and regulation of utilities. So, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're expecting about a 5% increase in civil engineering job demands in the next upcoming decades. And in terms of the median income, you're going to be looking at about $100,000 a year starting and then upwards of 150,000 later on after you gain seniority. So there are a lot of schools known for being civil engineering schools who have strong civil engineering programs. So these are six universities who happen to be very notable for civil engineering programs. You have Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is MIT. You have Purdue University. You have the University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley. You have Georgia Tech, University of Illinois, and as well as Texas A&M. So all six of these schools are very notable for their civil engineering programs. So me personally, I chose civil engineering because I always had a knack of woodwork, soldering, and technical design, which I really appreciated a lot earlier on when I got to work with my father and grandfather on certain things or home projects. And even when I got to high school, when I got to work up my own projects, doing extracurriculars and things of the sort. And so the picture I have attached right here on the left is actually one where I was working on a project, which you can kind of see in the background with a couple of my classmates and coaches. And so, along with this, I got a chance to work within the field of construction. And with that, I truly realized that civil engineering was where I wanted to be. With that being said, that concludes my presentation and gig 'em.